Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. A federal judge has ruled the military's don't ask, don't tell policy toward gay and lesbian members of the military is unconstitutional. In her decision, Judge Virginia Phillips wrote the policy, quote, infringes the fundamental rights of United States service members in many ways. Judge Phillips said she'll issue an injunction that will halt the enforcement of the policy that allows gay men and lesbians to serve in the armed forces as long as they don't disclose their orientation and do not engage in homosexual acts. The lawsuit was brought by the Log Cabin Republicans, the largest gay Republican political organization. Although President Obama campaigned to overturn Don't Ask, Don't Tell, the Justice Department defended the law during a 2-week trial in Riverside, California. The government has not announced if it plans to appeal the ruling. The Guardian newspaper reports 12 U.S. soldiers faced charges over forming a secret kill team that allegedly blew up and shot Afghan civilians at random and collected their fingers as trophies. 5 of the soldiers are charged with murdering 3 Afghan men who were allegedly killed for fun in separate attacks this year. 7 others are accused of covering up the killings and assaulting a recruit who exposed the murders when he reported other abuses. All the soldiers are members of a Stryker infantry brigade based in Kandahar province in southern Afghanistan. Meanwhile, the father of one of the men charged has told the Associated Press he tried nearly a half-dozen times to pass an urgent message from his son to the Army that troops in his unit had murdered an Afghan civilian and planned more killings. Pentagon Press Secretary Jeff Morrell addressed the charges Thursday.
So I don't believe the allegations here against these few individuals are representative of the behavior or the attitudes of the entire force. That said, it clearly, even if these allegations are proved to be untrue, is unhelpful. It does not help the perceptions of our forces around the world, and so the sad part about this is even if these individuals are vindicated, even if they're not true, the damage will have been done.
The pastor of a small Christian church in Florida has apparently put off plans, at least for now, to burn copies of the Koran on Saturday on the 9th anniversary of the September 11th attacks. Pastor Terry Jones is said to only have 50 members in his church, but he's been at the center of the world's attention for the past week. Jones made the announcement shortly after Defense Secretary Robert Gates phoned him from the Pentagon and told him the event would put U.S. soldiers at risk in Afghanistan and Iraq. During a televised news conference, Jones said his decision to cancel Burn a Koran Day came as part of a deal in which the backers of a proposed Islamic cultural center in Lower Manhattan agreed to move the center farther away from Ground Zero.
The American people do not want the mosque there, and of course Muslims do not want us to burn the Quran. The Imam has agreed to move the mosque. We have agreed to cancel our event on Saturday, and on Saturday I will be flying up there to meet with him.
Soon after the news conference, Imam Faisal Abdul Rauf and a developer behind the proposed Islamic Center denied Jones' claim about a possible deal. Jones then responded by saying he's now rethinking his decision to put off the Quran burning. Earlier Thursday, President Obama discussed the controversy during an interview on ABC.
I just want him to understand that this stunt that he is talking about pulling could greatly endanger our young men and women in uniform who are in Iraq, who are in Afghanistan. We're already seeing protests against Americans just by the mere threat that he's making.
What are you worried about?
Well, look, this is a recruitment bonanza for Al-Qaeda. You could have serious violence in places like Pakistan or Afghanistan.
The Iranian government has announced plans to release Sarah Shourd, one of the 3 American hikers detained 14 months ago. The 32-year-old Shourd has been kept in solitary confinement for the past year. Her mother says she's suffering from medical problems, including precancerous cervical cells and a breast lump. Shourd is expected to be released on Saturday. There's been no word on the possible release of the two other hikers, Shane Bauer and Joshua Fatal. The Iranian government has accused all three of them of espionage. A Philadelphia federal appeals court has struck down a law in the Pennsylvania city of Hazleton aimed at barring undocumented immigrants from working or renting homes there. The court said the local laws violate federal prerogatives on immigration issues. Witold Walczak, the legal director of the ACLU of Pennsylvania, praised the ruling.
4 years ago, Hazleton passed the first law in the country attempting to drive out unlawful immigrants. And this sparked a wave of copycat laws across the country that tore communities apart along ethnic lines. And today's decision is a pointed repudiation of such local anti-immigration laws, and a warning should serve as a warning to other communities.
The New York Times reports Pentagon officials are negotiating to buy and destroy all 10,000 copies of the first printing of an Afghan war memoir they say contains intelligence secrets. The book, Operation Dark Heart, was written by Anthony Shaffer, a former Defense Intelligence Agency officer and a lieutenant colonel in the Army Reserve. Army reviewers originally signed off on the book's publication, but the Defense Intelligence Agency later identified more than 200 passages of suspected containing of classified information. The book reportedly includes Shaffer's accounts of clandestine operations, including eavesdropping operations by the National Security Agency. In Pakistan, the U.S. has carried out at least 4 drone strikes in the past 2 days in what's been one of the most intense barrages of drone attacks since President Obama took office. All the strikes targeted sites in North Waziristan. In Somalia, at least 14 people died Thursday in a series of bomb blasts at the main airport in Mogadishu. The victims include African Union forces. The militant group al-Shabaab claimed responsibility. Over the last 2 weeks, at least 230 civilians have been killed and over 400 others wounded in Somalia. In other news from Africa, rape survivors in the village of Luvungi in the Democratic Republic of Congo have begun describing the recent horrors they suffered when rebel forces mass-raped hundreds of women and girls and infants over a 2-month period. Zaina Nyangoma is one of the rape survivors who's talked about her ordeal.
After they raped us, they would walk out, and we would do our best to escape into the bush. And sometimes we would have to crawl on the ground, while they would rape others until dawn. They would also sometimes follow us into the bush or wherever we were hiding at night. And if we were found, they would then rape us again. And that's how they managed to rape all the women of Luvungi.
In economic news, President Barack Obama has reportedly chosen one of his longtime economic advisors, Austin Goolsbee, to be the chair of the Council of Economic Advisors. Goolsbee will replace Christina Romer, who left the administration last week. Goolsbee is considered a centrist, pro-so-called free trade economist. In media news, the Spanish-language network Univision made history last week when it pulled in the nation's highest ratings for television viewers between the ages of 18 and 49. It marks the first time Univision has ever had higher ratings in this key demographic than the nation's main English-language networks. Univision also beat all the English-language networks in the month of July among viewers aged 18 to 34. And peace rallies and interfaith vigils are being held across the country this weekend to mark the 9th anniversary of the September 11th attacks and to condemn Islamophobia. Here in New York, a coalition of more than 100 civic, religious, civil liberties and civil rights organizations will host a vigil tonight supporting religious freedom. On Saturday, the Emergency Mobilization Against Racism and Anti-Islamic Bigotry will hold a rally near City Hall in New York, just blocks from the proposed site of the new Islamic Cultural Center. In Florida, the Gainesville Muslim Initiative is hosting an interfaith candlelight vigil for peace. The Network of Spiritual Progressives, which is chaired by Rabbi Michael Lerner, is calling on members to organize interfaith public readings of the Koran. Here in New York, Hesham El-Melegi is a member of the Building Bridges Coalition, which is organizing a rally in New York on Saturday.
I did not want to do anything on that day except having a respectful, solemn observation with the families and other people of conscience in America and around the world. Unfortunately, I cannot let people with agendas to attack and marginalize the Muslim community have an open platform without all of us, people of conscience, standing up together and upholding American values of respect, tolerance, unity, freedom of religion. This is why we're coming on September 11th and doing this. There is no other way except that somebody had to stand up for these American values.
And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
And welcome to all of our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world.